just the Rimmel. Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I've got a fun video for you guys today. We're going to be recreating a celebrity inspired makeup look that you guys voted on. A couple of days ago on Instagram, I gave some options for you guys of celebrity makeup looks that you would like to see me attempt to recreate. Those options were Emily Blunt, Zendaya, Charlize Theron, and Amanda Seyfried. And the winner, by a landslide, might I add, was Charlize Theron. So I am going to be attempting to recreate this very beautiful, very smoky makeup look today. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I actually was surprised that Charlize Theron won. I don't know why. I just assumed that Zendaya or Emily Blunt would win. Shows how much I know about celebrities and current trends in makeup. But I've got to hand it to you guys. You definitely picked what I think is the most complicated and sultry looking of the makeup looks that I showed you. It'll be a challenge for me. It's been a while since I've done a very smoky eye, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you guys are excited as well. Before we jump into it, I want to welcome any new visitors to my channel. Very happy to have you here. I hope that you'll consider subscribing before you leave. Make sure those notifications are turned on just so you can be notified every time I upload a video. And one more thing, this goes for all of you. I would love it if you'd give this video a thumbs up. It really helps me out. And with all that out of the way, I've got a lot of makeup to put on, so let's get to it. Alright, got my hair pulled out of the way. I did just apply a little bit of eyeshadow primer. I put the Alter Ego eyeshadow primer on. I think we're going to do the eyes first because this does look like a pretty dark smoky eye. I think that's going to end up working out best. So before we jump into the eyeshadow and I show you guys the eyeshadow palette that I'm planning to use and also the other palettes that I thought were contenders because I wanted to show you guys some options in case you want to try recreating this on your own. So we will do that in just a sec, but I do want to apply a little bit of concealer. This is just the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. And by the way, that concealer is in the shade Fair Warm. And I'm going to add just a little bit of powder to the eyelids just to help my eyeshadows blend a tiny bit better. This is just the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder. So I really look close at this picture. I zoomed way in on this thing to get the details of what this smoky eye looks like. It's a little bit hard to tell because her eyes aren't closed. You can't completely see every aspect of her eye makeup, but it looks like it's a good mix of some warms in the crease and then some cooler, dark kind of charcoal or black tones on the lid. And I have quite a few eyeshadow palette options for this. The one that I'm going to go with today is the Tati Beauty palette. I feel like this gives me a good range of both warm and cool and also different finishes in here. So that's the one I will be using today. But I want to show you guys a couple other options. I think if you had these and you don't have the Tati palette, you could use one of these as well. I think the Sultry palette would be a good option because you get a good mix of warm and cool in this one. Also, the original Persona Identity palette would be a good option. This doesn't give you a black. You might want a black if you have a matte black and something else, but it does give you all the other neutrals that I think you would need. Also, the That's Taupe palette, maybe in combination with the Going Coconuts palette. I feel like this one has a little bit more warmth, which I really do think you're going to need some warmth in your crease, but if you have some sort of combination of these two, you could probably create something similar with either of these. But again, if you're using these ones, I think you would probably want to find something that has a matte black in it. Another really good option that I think would work for this look is the original Lorac Pro palette. I also think the Enduring Love palette by Sydney Grace would work because it does have this charcoal. You get some warm browns, some good shimmers. This would probably work for this look as well. And then last but not least, one more option in case you don't have any of those and you happen to own the Mulan palette. I said that weird. Mulan palette. This would be a really good one. This is actually the first one that I thought of. The only reason I ended up going with the Tati Beauty one is because the lighter tones in here are really, really sparkly and it doesn't really look like she has a lot of shimmer on her inner lid, but I do think you could get a similar look with this palette as well. But today we're going to attempt to recreate this look using the Tati Beauty palette. I'm going to zoom you guys in just a little bit and we will get started with the eye look. Alright, so my eyes are primed and ready to go. Today I'm planning to use my Omnia brush set. I might use my tiny blending brush from Refer, but I think I'm going to try and mostly stick with these brushes right here. And to kick things off, we're going to go into the Light Tan, the Soothe Matte shade. It's actually been a while since I have used this palette, and I think it's such a good palette. In fact, this is one that got mentioned quite a few times in my Instagram poll where I asked you guys what your Holy Grail eyeshadow palette was. A lot of you mentioned the Tati Beauty palette. It is really, really good. I'll be honest, you guys, I am really intimidated to create a smoky eye today. It's been far too long since I've done a really deep, dark smoky eye. So I'm not going to worry about the lower lash line. We're just going to do the upper lid and then we'll do the base makeup and then we'll come back and do the lower lash line. So I'm actually going to build up that shade about halfway across the lid. I really want to layer these shades up from light to dark. And for this, let's actually take the Sequin Ritual shade, the one that has a tiny bit of sparkle in it. So I'm going to dip into that just with the very tip of that same brush, which by the way is the crease brush in the Omnia set. And this shade, I'm just going to start building this up in this outer corner and pulling it in across the lid about halfway. I don't want all of the depth in this look to come from the black or the charcoal because I feel like it's going to get too dark and too smoky. Such a fine line with smoky eyes, especially when there's black involved, because I think black can be really tricky to work with because if you put too much on initially and then try to blend it out, it gets really messy. Alright, so that's good for the initial warmth I wanted to lay down. Now we're going to start covering some of that up with the dark charcoal color. So we're going to start off with this brush right here for that. This is the smudger brush from that set. And I'm going to initially go in with the sequin memory shade right there, the black. I don't imagine much of the shimmer is going to show up. I'm just taking it on the very tip of that brush and we're going to start applying this at the lash line and slowly start building it or pulling it kind of up into that outer corner. Hopefully that will kind of give me the same look. I should probably pull this picture up just to make sure I don't get off track. I'm going to just keep dipping back into that sequin memory shade a tiny bit at a time just to build up this depth right here. I always want to start by applying most of the shadow right there at the lash line and then kind of pulling it in and upwards. I'm wiping my brush off. I just gotta work on this edge right here. I feel like it got a little harsh. By the way, I'm literally just tapping the brush into the very, very top. Get the tiniest amount of this dark kind of black or charcoal on there. Slowly building it up. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting close. Let's add just a little bit of the metallic memory shade. This one's just a little bit, I don't think there's quite as much of a black base in it. I mean, it's still going to be dark, but I'm going to start applying this on this outer part of the lid. And I am using a blending brush, so this isn't going to be too shimmery. It doesn't look like this eye look on her is too, there's not a lot of shimmer in it. It's mostly, I don't know they necessarily say it's all matte, but it's not super sparkly. So I'm going to use, rather than use my finger for this, I'm just going to use the brush. Just kind of dipping back and forth into that metallic memory shade. And just give that a little swatch for you guys. That's what it looks like swatched on my finger. Just not quite going for that much reflectiveness. And I'm trying to steer clear of this area right here. I don't want this dark shadow to get in too far. Can always pull it in a little more if we need to, but once it gets in like too far, especially when it gets here, when I'm working with dark shadows, I really want to try and keep those as far away from this socket right there, which is naturally shadowed, as I can. So I don't want to blend it in too far or be too wild with my blending. And then with the very tip of that brush, there's nothing left on here. I wiped it off. I just am going to lightly run this through the socket just to pull a tiny bit of that shadow in right there without getting too much in too far. Okay, I feel like that's pretty close for now. So hard to say because her eyes aren't open all the way, but I feel like that's pretty close. I might pull just a tiny bit more. Actually, I'm going to go in with my finger, scratch that. Rather than use my finger, I'm going to use this brush right here. This is actually the lip brush from that set. It's just a flat, almost concealer-like brush. Let me wipe it off. It looks like there's some shadow left on this one. I'm going to go back to that metallic memory shade, this one right here, and I'm going to apply a little bit more of that right to the center of my lid and slightly in a little bit. Looks like her eyes are pretty dark in the center. This is usually the line that I avoid going past with dark shadows, but again, it looks like hers is pretty dark most of the way in, all the way up to that very innermost corner. So I'm going to try and pull this in just a little bit more. I'm going to go back to that little pointy smudge brush. I'm going to dip back into that metallic shade. Same one we just dipped into. I'm gonna go kind of over the same spot, but this one I'm gonna kind of feather along this edge a little bit. Just feel like I need that depth in just a little bit further. So I do want to go in now. Actually, I think I'm going to hold off on the inner corner. I want to finish the lower lash line before I do that inner part. So I'm actually going to zoom you guys back out. We're going to finish off with the complexion and the face, probably do the brows, maybe even the lip, and then we're going to come back and finish the eyes off last. All right, you guys. Yikes, this is looking a little scary right now, but I have a feeling it's going to come together in the end. This is almost how any smoky eye I ever do goes. Let's go on with the foundation next. So the foundation that I picked for today, I wanted something very full coverage, so I went with the Beauty Blender Bounce Foundation. So I'm just going to dab that all over and then just go in with my sponge. This one is from Folklore Cosmetics. So I used about a full pump, maybe about a pump and a pump and a half for my entire face. Okay, so I am noticing that under my eyes is quite dark, so I'm going to take the back edge of this sponge before we go in with concealer, and I'm going to try and clean that up just a little bit, just so it doesn't get spread around while I'm putting my concealer on. Yeah, look at that. Wow. Okay, now let's add some concealer. So today we're going to use the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. I've really been enjoying this one. I mean, I've had it for a long time. I enjoyed it when I initially tried it over a year ago. Then I kind of put it off to the side until my recent video where I asked you guys what your holy grail concealers were. And this was the one I ended up picking for that video. And I've been using it a lot lately because I really do enjoy it. So I'm just adding a little bit of this darker shade. I have some blemishes or spots. I need some extra coverage. Then we're going to do quite a bit of highlighting with my concealer today. I'm using the same concealer in the shade Fair Warm. This one's quite a bit lighter. It is a little light for me, but it works really well for highlighting certain areas of my face. So we're going to do that. I'm going to be using more concealer than I typically use. So I blended all the other areas out first before I go close to my eyes because I have a feeling some of that shadow is going to get on the back of this sponge, even though I'm trying to be careful. Probably would have been wise to use a smaller sponge for this part, but that's okay. We're just gonna go with it and make it work. Okay, there we go. That definitely cleaned up my under eye area. Now I look even more crazy than I did before, but we'll come back and fix that. Hopefully I can take myself seriously and not get distracted because honestly my eyes look really bizarre right now. So really quickly I want to add just a little bit of powder. I'm just taking my Rimmel Stay Matte powder. I want to add a little bit of that here across my forehead just to prevent any of those forehead lines from creasing too much. I do want to do a little bit of contouring today. I'm going to use my Charlotte Tilbury contour wand for that. I'm going to contour my nose. She has a very thin nose, which I know I can't completely mimic, and I think the more if I try too hard to mimic her nose, it's just going to go badly, but I am going to try and do a little bit of contour on my nose right there. See if I can somewhat mimic her naturally thin nose, because I don't know that it's natural. I don't know, maybe she's had some work done, but I don't know if that's true either. She might just be as naturally beautiful as she looks in the picture. I have always thought Charlize Theron's one of those actresses that a lot of the movies that I see her in, I just look at her and think, oh, I hate you. You're so pretty. It's kind of sad that we do that as women, right? All right, a little bit across the forehead here. And then a tiny bit here along the cheeks. Such a pretty product. By the way, if you're wondering why this wasn't in my recent bronzer declutter video, it's because it was hiding from me. I completely forgot about this one. It was not about to get decluttered anytime soon because I really do love this product. It's really, really nice. It's expensive, but it is really nice. Okay, let's take a look at that photo one more time. I'm gonna do just a little bit more contouring right here. She looks pretty chiseled. She's probably naturally very chiseled. In fact, she might even have a little bit right there. Don't try this at home, kids. This could end badly. I'm just trying to mimic the shape of her face. Probably will end up looking like I have dirt smudged on my face, but that's okay. We're gonna try it. Nothing wrong with things not working out in the end. I can always wash this makeup off when we're done. She has a bit more of like a heart-shaped face than I do though. I have a very long, narrow Okay, let's add a little bit of bronzer. So I'm going to add this bronzer right here. This is a good neutral bronzer, the Thrive Cosmetics Rhea bronzer. And for that, I'm going to take the Omnia powder brush right here and just apply that a little bit higher than where I put that contour. Have I told you guys the story about the MAC counter I went to when I was, wow, it was when my kids were really young, like when I was in my late 20s, I think. We'll get back to that story in just a sec. I'm gonna add a little bit of highlighter. It looks like her highlighter is pretty natural, so I'm gonna go in with this highlighter right here. This is from Physicians Formula. It's a really good natural looking highlighter. It's not too shimmery or sparkly. Just taking this whole section right there. This is the Omnia highlighting brush. So my story about the MAC counter. So I went into a MAC counter because I just wanted to try out some MAC makeup. This was back when I was just getting in to makeup and interested in makeup when I first discovered YouTube. And asked the guy to just like put some makeup on me. I wanted to buy a couple of eyeshadows, but he did say to me as he was applying the eyeshadow, I don't remember his phrasing exactly, but this is how I took it. Wow, you have really tiny eyes. I mean, that doesn't sound like much of a compliment to me. I don't think anybody wants to have tiny eyes. So I was kind of like, I don't want to say I was like offended, but it hurt my feelings, I'm not gonna lie. And he did mention something about dark shadows on me are going to make my eyes look even. I think that might have been what he said. You don't want to wear something too dark. It's gonna make your eyes look even tinier than they already are. Who knows? Maybe I was just being insecure and I kind of took it that way. But to this day, I'm still intimidated by really dark eyeshadow because of what he said about my tiny eyes. So I only say that in hopes that if you guys have ever had a situation like that where someone gives you like a, not necessarily a backhanded compliment, but something that you took kind of as like, ouch, like, what's that supposed to mean? I know how you feel. All right, let's add some blush. So I'm gonna take today the Flower Beauty Blush Balm in the shade Pinch. This is a really good natural looking blush. It doesn't look like she has like obvious blush on in this picture, but her cheeks do look nice and bronzy and somewhat peach in tone. And this is a really almost sheer peach that just goes really nicely on top of a bronzer. So I feel like this is gonna look really, really nice and kind of mimic what she has going on or what it seems she might have going on. In my defense, she is laying down, so it makes it hard to mimic what her makeup looks like because you can't see all of it. I feel like this is gonna be close. So I'm gonna go back to my brush. I'm using the kind of backside that I haven't really used yet. And I'm just gonna go around the edges of that blush I just put down to kind of blend it in and make those lines kind of disappear. So I swatched a lot of different lip products today, and what I'm thinking might give me a similar look are these three products right here. I have my Milani lip liner in the shade 03 Nude, have my Flower Beauty Naked Blush lipstick, a good peachy pink, and then the Creme Brulee lip gloss from NYX. I feel like that's gonna give me that pinky glossy peach look that she's got going on her lips. That is the hope, at least. So I'm gonna wipe my lips off and then go in with the lip liner. I really want to get these lips right. Looks like her lips are lined all the way around, which I don't normally do, but she also has a very sharp Cupid's bow. Is that what that's called? Yeah, Cupid's bow. What was I was thinking, what's this thing called? Widow's Peak. Why did I get those mixed up for a minute? Oh, Mandy. Not even close. I'm gonna try and kind of mimic her sharp Cupid's bow. I do have some pretty severe lines on the top of my lips, so this could go badly, but it's okay. We're gonna try it. And then I'm gonna take the Flower Beauty lipstick, just adding a little bit of this on top. My lips definitely look more pink than hers do, but I'm hoping the lip gloss will help out with that. Okay, lip gloss, work your magic. All right, let's move into the brows. Her brows look pretty dark. It actually kind of looks like she has powder in her brows, so we're gonna use a powder today. But before I do that, I'm gonna run just a little bit of my ColourPop shaping wax through my brows, just to kind of get them a little more upright. All right, taking this brow brush in that Omnia set, I'm gonna take this powder right here. This is an old powder from e.l.f. It's in the color Pebbles. I love this as a brow powder. It's the perfect color for my brows. It's kind of a taupey, ashy brown. So I'm gonna just kind of start filling in my brows with this, and then we'll go back and kind of tame those wild hairs right there. So let's jump back into the palette and finish off with the smoky eye. So it does look like she has some shimmer on her lower lash line. It looks like she has some brown shimmer and then some like black or charcoal kind of on top of it closer to the lash line. So we're going to try and do something similar. We're going to start off in the Tati palette going in with this shade right here. This is the metallic ritual shade. I'm going to take that on this kind of large fluffy traditional eyeshadow brush. We're going to kind of buff that along that lower lash line. Actually, not necessarily buff it. We're just going to kind of start tapping it down there. And it looks like this is in about almost all the way to her inner corner. So I'm going to start off with this brush because it's a little wider. And I might go with a smaller brush to kind of get a little bit more precise, especially on this inner part. Oh, that reminds me, I'm going to zoom you guys in just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit more on this little smudger brush right here from the Omnia set and really build it up on there. Again, this is the metallic ritual shade. And this is kind of going not super close to the lash line, a little bit lower than the lower lash line. Now with that same brush, I want to go into the sequin black right here. Very tiny amount on the very tip of this brush. I'm going to tap it off really well. And this I'm going to press right into my lashes. Oh shoot. Forgot to tap off. I'm going to wipe that off. I'm actually going to go back to that shimmery brown. I had to wipe some of that off, so I'm going to go below here with that kind of shimmery brown. Back to that smudgy kind of standard eyeshadow brush. This is officially called the shader brush. There's nothing on this brush right now. I'm just going to run this kind of right below everything and kind of lightly over what I just laid down to really blend those together. Hopefully this doesn't knock too much of that brown shimmer off, but we might come back with another brown shimmer. Alright, now let's go back to that tiny detail brush, this one right here. We're going to dip into this shade, which is the shimmery or metallic Soothe shade. It's a little bit lighter than the ritual shade that we used. A little bit more gold, still nice and shimmery. This one I'm going to put on this inner part. Ooh, that is quite warm. Hopefully that's not too warm. She definitely has some like warm bronze or gold right there on the inner corner. This might be a little bit more peach toned than what she has, but then I'm going to dip back into that ritual shimmery shade, same brush, and run that just underneath everything we just blended out. Now let's work on that inner corner and then we'll move on to the liner and mascara and then we'll be done. So let's take this brush right here. This is the flat kind of lip brush. It's kind of a flat concealer type brush. We're going to dip into the metallic Aura shade right here. We're going to add this to the inner corner. This is perfect for this look because it's not too shimmery. It's also not too icy. So it gives you just a little bit of brightness without being too over the top. Okay, now I'm just going to do a little bit of cleanup around the edges. I'm just taking my sponge on this side, a little bit right here. I'm going to go back to that blending brush. I'm going to dip into a tiny bit of that initial transition shade that we used, the Matte Soothe, the light brown. I'm very lightly going to run this around this outer edge. Then I'm going to go back to that little detail brush. We're going to dip into that dark black kind of sequin shade. And I'm just going to add a tiny bit of this to the lash line. I'm just working on the shape right here. Same on the other side, just a tiny bit right here. And last, I think I'm going to add a little bit of liner to my upper and my lower waterline. This is my Simma Brown Now liner. Alright, now I'm going to curl my lashes. I'm going to add a couple of coats of some of the NARS Climax mascara, then I'll be right back with you guys and show you the finished look. Alright you guys, here we have the finished makeup look. I actually think the makeup look looks pretty similar to hers. I still am not sure that I think this looks good on me necessarily. I'm just not used to it. Let's just say that. I'm not used to this dark of an eye. I keep looking in my viewfinder and I feel like I look like a shark. Like, where are my eyes? They just look like black holes. But when I sit back and kind of analyze the makeup, it is kind of pretty. I don't know. How many of you guys wear smoky eyes on a regular basis? I mean dark smoky eyes like this. My idea of a smoky eye is typically like a tiny bit of dark shadow on the outer corner and then really bright on the inner half of the lid. So this is a little bit dark for me. Maybe if I wore it more often, I'd get used to it. But let me know what you guys thought of the finished look. What did you guys think as far as how close I got it? I feel like the lips are pretty close. The cheeks, maybe. My brows, I was initially thinking they looked horrible, but once the smoky eye is complete, I feel like it kind of needs a darker brow, so I think it goes pretty well. I will be honest, I was hoping I would look a little bit more like Charlize Theron when this look was completed. I still just look like me with really dark eyeshadow on, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you guys think? Did you have fun watching me attempt to recreate this? How do you guys think I did? Feel free to be honest down in the comments below, and I would love to hear how it went if you guys followed along with me either with this palette or some of the other ones I mentioned, or just something you had in your collection. Let me know how it went for you. Did it take you an hour and a half? Because this took me a while. I've been filming for quite a while now. Overall, I had a lot of fun. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. Big thanks again to you guys who recommended that I try this makeup look out. It definitely pushed me outside of my comfort zone. Hope that you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining me today, for watching this video. We have a couple more videos to go in my full month of nothing new, and then we're gonna get into some fall videos, which I am really excited about. So let that be a push. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I hope that you'll do that before you leave. But that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much again. I will see you all very soon in my next video. Bye. Before I jump into the video, I want to welcome any new videos. Dang it. I don't know, maybe if I had my hair blown out and I was laying down on a bed of roses. Unfortunately, I just cleaned the roses off of my bed, so can't do that. I'm just kidding. There are no roses in this picture. It just looks like the type of picture someone that would be laying down on a bed of roses. Very sultry.